So my lease was ending, and at the same time where I was about to do a bunch of traveling. So like even after this, like next week, I'm going to fly to Minnesota, or I'm going to spend a week up on the border of Canada with 7 other guys. We're going to do some camping up there. And then I'll spend a week in Michigan. I'll come back to Austin, and then I'm going to California for Ross's wedding. I'm going to Italy for my buddy's wedding.
Damn.
And then I'll probably be back in Austin. So I have a bunch of traveling coming up. So at the same time where all this traveling is happening, my lease was ending at my apartment in downtown Austin. And so I was like, well, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to renew a lease. I'm going to be doing a ton of traveling. I'm just going to house it, basically be homeless for a while. And so one of the opportunities that popped up is like, I wanted to spend a little time outside of Austin for a little bit. And there happened to be a farm. It's about 60 some acres, just 30 miles outside of the airport in Austin. It's this 2 couple, Karen and Graham. They're the coolest freaking people ever. Graham he's from Dublin, Ireland, and he's a classic Irishman, super vulgar, tells amazing stories, loves to cuss, nicest guy on the planet, and he loves his Guinness. And so I went up to them, met all the animals. There's goats and chickens and turkeys and longhorn and a bunch of exotic animals from like black buck and all sorts of stuff.
Damn.
And I got out there, met them. They're super cool, super lovely people. And they're like, yeah, this sounds great. And they have 2 Australian Shepherds. And I was like, sold. And so they left because they had a bunch of stuff over in like Switzerland and a whole bunch of other stuff. And basically I was responsible for the farm for almost a month. And so
Just you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
And so, which it sounds like a lot, but honestly, it's once you kind of get the hang of it, it wasn't too tough. And but so I was out on the farm for almost a month, which me and the animals, like people would come and visit, like my girlfriend would come out, or friends would come out and stay and visit for a while. But for the most part, it was just me. And prior to this, no farming experience. This is exactly my point about how I got into running, is that when you just do the thing, you learn so much about yourself and what you like and what you don't like. I love farming. It was
so cool.
Amazing. It literally changed me forever, man. Like if I was to give you the biggest lesson that I learned from spending almost a month out on the farm, was prior to this, I was always kind of the type of person that avoided responsibility for the most part. It's like I don't really have a house, I don't have kids, I don't have a wife, I don't have anything like responsibility wise. And because I had this belief in my head that somehow like responsibility felt like a burden. And what living on the farm taught me, though, was that when I was responsible for all these animals, like every morning I'd wake up and I was like, man, I hope everyone's alive today. And it taught me that like having responsibility gave me such a sense of like purpose and meaning. It was unbelievable. Like knowing that literally their lives were in my hands, no joke. And there was a scare where... so partway through being on the farm, Graham came back for a couple days, the Irish guy. And we woke up the next morning and he's like, hey man, did you eat one of my fucking ducks? And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, there used to be 5 and I could only find 4 out there. And I was like, oh no. I was like, are we missing a duck? He's like, just fucking kidding. I think maybe a raccoon got it or something. And I was like, Jesus. So we legitimately, I think we lost a duck, right?
Oh no.
And he wasn't upset about it, and because like sometimes a raccoon or a fox will like eat these ducks or whatever. And he was explaining the whole situation to me, so I was like, oh, thank God. And but then a few days went by, and I actually ended up finding the 5th duck because she might have had like a litter of ducks somewhere, and sometimes when they have a litter, they'll like disappear for a while. And so I sent him a photo, and I was like, found your duck, super excited. And he's like, oh, awesome, that's great. But what I realized is like, oh man, like this feels really good. This feels good knowing that like these animals, I'm responsible for their life. And it gave me so much meaning every morning knowing like if I don't do something today, like these animals could die or whatever. Yeah. And now like projecting into my future, I for sure see a farm in my future. Like I think about, Ryan Holiday?
Yeah.
And he has like a hobby farm out in Bastrop.
Yeah.
I could totally do that now. Like that sounds so attractive to me. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Like that same lifestyle.
Have you ever had dogs, like taking care of dogs or anything, or no?
We had cats growing up, but
those are pretty self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Does it make you want to have kids, you think?
Oh, my girlfriend would love me to say yes. Yeah, I think yes. I will say like that responsibility and that sense of meaning and purpose. Like ever since my nephews were born, ever since he had kids. That was the first time where like prior to my brother having kids, I thought kids were the worst thing on the planet. I was like, get them away from me. They're so annoying. I don't want anything to do with them. And then I had my nephews and I love them to death. And like, there's something about them being yours and your offspring that makes you just like fall in love with them. And then, yeah, the farming thing has definitely opened another door of like, wow, I'm kind of good at this, and I kind of enjoy this, and this feels really good. So
That's cool, man. It's got to just be like fulfilling, like in your soul, probably a little
Very.
bit, right? Like
very,
we probably all have some sort of inherent thing that like we want to take care of something and like, because it's fulfilling. It's like when something is reliant upon you.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary at the same time, but
I think it takes yourself out of it.
yeah, you get rid of your ego.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's all about me, which is like,
Right.
it's fine. Like there's a time and place to like take care of yourself. But at some point, it's like, is it really all about you? Like, is that all
Right.
you're here to do? Like, is that the coolest thing you can do?
I feel like it's kind of hardwired into our brains because I mean, I guess one of our human purposes is to like procreate and like continue on our species, and part of that is like taking care of a child and raising it. So I wonder if it's got to be some kind of like primal inherent like itch that we have to like be responsible for another being.
Totally.
I felt that with my dogs.
Really?
When we first got dogs, and now I feel like I treat our dogs like children. So it's like I don't see them as dogs; I see them as like our kids, basically. But it's like when I leave the house, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about my dogs, or like, oh, I hope they're okay, or like I'm out at the store, like, oh, they would love this, but they're just dogs. Like, I guess I don't want to call them just dogs, but I don't know.
No, I get it. No,
Yeah.
I can totally relate now, especially doing the farm thing. Is like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, every day I'd wake up and I'd think about like, man, I hope they're alive today, and then
Yeah.
I'd go out and like pet the goats or whatever. Like,
That's so cool. Do you think you'd do that again? Like do another like farm sitting? Is that what you'd call it?
yeah, that's really a fun question. I'm glad that you asked that, because now that you say that, I've never thought about this, but there's a part of me that feels almost attached to these animals now since I spend so much time to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now I almost feel like if I went to another farm, I almost feel like a traitor.
Yeah, you're like betraying these animals.
I'm
Yeah.
betraying
Yeah.
all my goat ladies and all the other freaking cool animals that were out there.
Did they have names?
Yeah.
Oh, that adds to it also.
Yeah.
If you didn't know their names or they didn't have names, because it like personifies them a little bit.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I'll never forget Penelope, that girl. Man, she was a mother effer.
She a goat?
Yeah, she was a goat. And at one point, oh God, at one point, so they would separate some of the goats because they wouldn't always get along. They would freaking want to bang heads together. Like there was the baby goats, there was the daddy goats, and then they would split some of the female goats. It was mostly female goats because those are the ones you milk for milk and cheese and all the good stuff. And there was at one point where I was going from one lady goat to the other lady goat pen, and one of the girls like bucked me and like knocked the gate open. So then like there's all these like goats fucking slewing out into the rest of the pasture, right? And I was like, oh no! And so like all of a sudden then all the goats were like mixed together, and I wasn't sure which ones were supposed to be in which pen.
Oh no.
And I called Graham like right away, and I was like, hey Graham, problem. So I mixed up all the lady goats. I don't know who goes where. He goes, okay, don't worry about it. Take a photo of all the goats, and I'll circle on the photo which ones need to be in which pen. Perfect. So I'm walking around like taking photos of all these goats, and he's like circling them, and he's like, this goes in this pen, this goes in that pen. But there was one in particular, Penelope, and he's like, yeah, she needs to be in this pen, but you're probably not going to be able to just grab her. Like she's like very skittish, like she won't like let you around. And so there's a few videos of me like chasing Penelope around to like try to get her into her pen.
Oh my god.
And I eventually had to lure her with graham crackers. Ironically, I had this bin of graham crackers that I used that the goats love graham crackers. And so I eventually had to like wrestle this goat and get her into her right pen. But
That's so funny, dude.
Yeah.
Man, you're making me want to go live on a farm
Dude.
now.
I tell everybody this now. If you get the opportunity to just spend a few days out on a farm taking care of some animals, do it. 100%.
Dude.
So worth it.
That is the kind of a dream of like have like a garden, have some sort of like, I don't know, horses or chickens or some animals.
Chickens for sure. I had
Yeah.
unlimited eggs.
That's so nice.
There was no shortage. I ate eggs every day, all day. Like eggs and steak for breakfast was like every single day.
Doesn't a hen lay like 6 eggs a day or something crazy?
They had to have, because there was, I was giving them to everybody. I was giving them to my friends and my girlfriend,
Dang.
and like I couldn't. There was more eggs than I could ever eat.
Dude, and farm fresh eggs are the best.
Exactly.
It's crazy the color of the yolk.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so like deep dark yellow orange. And you compare it to like a store bought one, it's like pale yellow.
Yep.
Dude.
You gotta be careful with that though, because like sometimes they'll dye the eggs. I don't know if you knew that. It's like sometimes they'll like dye them orange because people know that they want.
Oh, really?
In the same way, because like dye salmon, right?
Yeah.
They do the same thing with
Oh
eggs.
my gosh.
So sometimes you gotta be careful with that. But yes, that is true.
Really? So like the store bought ones, they'll dye those sometimes. Interesting. Man, I just need a farm. That's
I know.
all my
That's what I'm
problems.
saying. With ducks though, because
Oh,
duck
yeah.
eggs are actually amazing too.
I've never had duck eggs.
I was eating duck eggs every single day. So those are also awesome.
You're like a superhuman now.
Yeah.
Dude.
I know. It was so great.
That's amazing.
Unlimited eggs, unlimited honey, a bunch of cheese and goat milk and sourdough, unlimited sourdough.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
What a cool story. What a cool like part of your life.
I know. It's weird.
That's awesome.
I don't know where I'm going to go next with this whole house/dog sitting thing.